What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of How Do You Do with RogerEyesR, where we talk about routines, the ins and outs of everyday life, and even beverages. Anyway, I'm here in Santa Ana, in Main Place Mall, where it's always hustling and bustling, as you could tell, and I'm standing in front of my next guest's artwork. You might know her as JoyFire. I know her as Joy. She's amazing. You're about to find out all about her. But I should speak on the piece that I'm standing in front of. It's titled Artifacts from a Heroine's Journey. They're pretty badass. So if I understand it right, it's a representation of the sacredness of everyday objects. You should come check it out for yourself. There's a lot of art here in Main Place Mall. But it's very fitting that I'm back here talking to Joy during this conferencing platform, because this is actually how I met her. I met her during a virtual art walk during COVID. So why don't we get started? I hope you enjoy the show. What was that all about? Hi, everybody. Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to How Do You Do with RogerEyesR. And today's guest, the very creative and talented JoyFire. How are you doing, Joy?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me on, Roger. It's
totally.
Super nice to chat with you.
Totally. I can't wait. So as you know a little bit, what I like to kind of talk about folks on my podcast is about their day. Just really want to find out how it is that you do what you do and how you do it. So any little details, totally love them, because we go on little tangents, But why don't we get started? Why don't we talk about do you want to talk about yesterday or today? What's a typical day like for you?
Well, yesterday I was thinking about this as we were preparing. Yesterday was Sunday, so it was one of my off days. So yesterday I was working on my house. I was painting doors and rehanging them. That was mainly what I was doing.
Any fun colors, or are you just kind of
no,
doors?
Yeah, they just needed to be repainted and stuff. So that was just your boring old white, but they look much nicer.
But that's not so boring. I've done some of that myself. You've got to sand down the doors and all that kind of stuff. Did you do the whole thing?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's not that big of a project for ours, but I did a bathroom door and bedroom door.
Oh man! And then hanging it up. Now, do you do that all on your own?
So I live with my partner and husband, Chris, and my main material is metal, and that's totally my jam. That's where I am now in my metal shop. But Chris is he's a professor, but he does a lot of woodworking as his sort of main hobby and thing. So he's really much better about all of that. So he is my assistant with metal, and I'm his assistant with wood, and his student.
Awesome! I remember meeting him.
Yeah. He got some of that prepped and helped me rehang them and stuff. Just little like house projects. We bought this house super fortunate in La Habra the last summer.
Okay. Congratulations.
So thanks. We've been doing projects, and it's funny, like I, like my job is making stuff and doing stuff in the metal shop and all that. But also we are constantly keeping ourselves busy with projects in the house. But that's what we kind of love. And that's sort of it's like my hobby, my job, my relaxation.
I love it. No, I'm in tune with that. That's so cool to see, or to hear that you guys are so good with your hands, both of you. And then you do so much work. I'm the same way. I've just always got something that I'm working on, whether, it's creative or just something. And I have a 5-year-old daughter too. So, that keeps me in my toes.
Yeah. We did not have, we just have 2 cats. So
they require work too. That's what we know. Yeah. Now, just to stay on the timeline here, because I kind of like to establish a little bit of timeline. Yeah. So yesterday you said you got started. Is working on the doors pretty much, you just get up and you go straight to something, you kind of warm up, do you have some coffee?
We are very chill in the mornings. I'm not a morning person. So I think for anyone who's says they're not a morning person, but thinks you gotta it's part of the hustle or something. I chill in my mornings.
I love it.
Now, I think yesterday we made pancakes yesterday.
Okay.
You gotta have your healthy breakfast.
Email and that stuff?
Yes,
Good.
I do. I try to keep myself a little bit limit, like separate my time there because it's always easy to get sucked into that. And often I get sucked in. I like try to do that in the mornings and then I'm like, shit, it's noon already and I got to get to the shop and like do my stuff there. But yeah, so I did a little yoga in the morning, had some
Okay. Oh, all right.
pancakes,
You've been doing
drink
yoga
my
for a while?
coffee. Yeah, been doing
Okay.
yoga for a long time. The pandemic kind of got me out of the habit a little bit because our studio closed and stuff. But I try to do it on my own. It's kind of one of my other things about being someone who works and does like a physical job. It's super important to take care of yourself and kind of have that like long-term maintenance. It's not the kind of thing that like you just do it once and you're fine. So it's trying to keep things going. So because I want to keep doing this, hammering stuff until until I can't do anything anymore. So
I love it. Yeah,
that's kind of big for me is to keep taking care of my back and all stuff like that. Because my job, at the shop here and my studio work is quite physical. It's a lot of moving around heavy things, a lot of hammering, and you got to be careful about that. So yeah, I did my yoga, worked on the doors, ran some errands. I also do one of the things I did yesterday is I work for, I volunteer with a nonprofit. I'm wearing our shirt. It's called Society of Inclusive Blacksmiths.
Yes.
It was on purpose. So we have meetings every other week on Zoom. So that was also what I was doing on yesterday on Sunday. So we were kind of getting together. We had a big fundraiser at the end of last year. So we were just like getting back into things for the year and starting to plan what we're going to do this year. So that's a super important thing for me. Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about the organization, just so we know.
I would love to. Yeah, I would love to. So it's called the Society of Inclusive Blacksmiths. And it is really dedicated to building community and supports and visibility for people who are usually more marginalized in blacksmithing, which in sort of the Western modern world is women, queer people, people of color, people with disabilities, sort of the sort of anyone who's kind of doesn't fit when you think of a blacksmith, you have an image in your head, probably of like a bearded big white guy.
That's kind of typical, yeah.
If you haven't noticed, that's not not me. So the governance committee is 5 of us. We're all women. And we've been, I came in a little bit later, but I've been organizing with them for, I think, about 2 years now. So a lot of it is online too. Everyone in the governance committee lives in different states. So we're very spread out. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We were doing this whole thing before it was cool, before the pandemic. Yeah, we were meeting on Zoom. So yeah, everyone lives kind of across the US. We even have people that participate from like other countries, a friend in Belgium and Australia, New Zealand, stuff like that. So it's just like community support, love, positivity. We offer scholarships. We do grants. So it's all just is to support more people getting into blacksmithing.
Amazing.
Just so share resources, anything we can do that makes it like that removes barriers,
Right on. Wow. That's so cool. I remember when you spoke about it a little bit when we all met at Galeria de Imaginación, right? Or Imagination. And it's great to hear a little bit more on it. Yeah. And it's so cool. I mean, I think what stands out is the fact that it's all inclusive and you want to have more people come in that are marginalized. So that's great. It's fantastic. Yeah. So you did that. Do you guys ever meet in person, or typically you said you had a fundraiser? Do you guys do that kind of online, or how's that work?
It's all online. The funny thing is with these other women, these other folks, I've been, I consider them my very, very good friends. I've only met one of them in person.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's kind of the way that our governance committee works, is just the way that it is because we happen to be, who we are. And of course we're all spread out. and it didn't, we just made that not matter. And then that kind of feeds into the fact that this community is meant to be not, focused in one place, because people are all over the world, all over the US.
Right.
So that kind of does just like feed into and sort of reinforce this, like everyone is equally participating. It's not centered on specific locations. And that's another way that it's trying to, again, remove sort of those barriers just of like physical location.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I'll try to put info on the organization on our website and our landing page later on. So,
sweet. So yes, great.
Yeah, it won't be dropping until next month, just because I'm doing a little bit recording and stuff. But
sure.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I did hear that you said you like coffee. How do you like your coffee? And where?
Black.
Okay, me too. I like it.
Black.
Yes. No. Yeah, you don't need anything else. And do you just have because a lot of people like coffee, right? And so they tend to kind of have their own little ritual behind it, or is you just kind of drip coffee for you? How do you do it?
Well, it's we have at my house, we have like every single way to make coffee, almost every single way to make coffee. Possibly, usually just for the regular, like, it's the drip coffee. We have fresh beans. So we do grind our beans every day. A friend of mine gave us a coffee roaster, actually. So we're gonna, get to the next level in there.
Hey,
slowly.
now, that is a little next level. That's awesome.
Yeah, we've got a super nice little espresso maker, one of those stovetop kinds. I love that. French press, the pour over. But usually it's the, put the beans in, I'm like half asleep or I'm still in bed and Chris is making it, and you put the things in there, you press a button, you get your coffee.
There you go. That's what you do. All right. I love it too. Nothing, you really get to taste the beans when it's just black. I just want to taste it, man.
I know. And I really prefer hot coffee. Like even in the middle of the summer when it's super hot.
Oh, really?
During the day. Yeah, like in the mornings I gotta have my hot coffee. Like at least one cup of hot. And then, then I'll maybe go to iced. But that's
you gotta have the black coffee. The hot black coffee. I love it. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why, but that's my thing.
Do you think it might be one of those things you just again, it's like a ritual, right? Like you need it then I can move on. Okay, it might be one of those things.
Habit, something about it like makes me feel, even when it's warm outside, like the warm coffee is that feeling of comfort and like kind of just, even if it's not like chilly or something, it warms me up, it gets me ready. I don't know.
Yeah, well, if I don't know if this plays into it, but to the aroma of it, right? When it's warm, you smell it, so it kind of like brings it out. So I could see that. I can see that.
That's a really good point. I totally didn't even think about the smell of it. Yes, definitely. You don't get the same kind of smell when you have like an iced.
Yeah, you basically don't smell it much.
Super good point. Yeah.
Right on. So let's move on to let's see a little typical day. You've talked a lot about your studio, and I can't wait to check it out here in a little bit. But when do you usually get to the studio? Do you just kind of after you're done doing everything you need to do, or is it again? Do you kind of have I got to be there by 12:30 or something? Is it kind of like
I don't have like a hard deadline for myself unless I have a meeting or something, a specific deadline. So I do sometimes have meetings with clients here at my shop, or I have to go to their location to have meetings. But like I said, I'm just not a morning person, and maybe sometimes I feel like I need to like be a little more on it. So that's we all have things we work on, but usually I'll try to do some of my computer stuff. If I have like a bunch of emails, then I know ahead of time, okay, it's like more email day. It's like more computer day. And then hopefully you'll get to the shop in the, in the afternoon or something and do as much work as you can. Sometimes it's like, okay, today's shop day. Like you can maybe do some emails on your phone while you're, working or something, but you got to focus on shop. So I'm trying to have more, focus on that. I'm a teacher. I teach at community college. And I'm a student. I'm in an MFA program, a master's program right now.
Yes.
So I'm in my last semester now, but so often there's days where I have to go up to campus where I take classes. There's days I have to go, I'm teaching. So it all just depends on my schedule is like lots of different places.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I feel really privileged that you made some time for us because you're obviously very busy. That's super, super awesome. So
everyone's busy.
Show us well, some people like to take it easy, but whatever works for everybody is a little different, right? This is, I think, why I find this podcast so interesting, just to see how other artists, but I talk to different folks, and how they do it and what they do, and it's just interesting. Sometimes I pick up something, and it's just fun to kind of get to know folks. So tell us a little bit more about your studio. I know, is it here in Santa Ana?
Yep, in Santa Ana. Do you want me to show you around? Should I pick this up?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I know that it's more of an audio format, but but
that's right.
We have the video, so check it out.
I'll describe it. My shop's, so you can see behind me. My shop's super small. It's 400 square feet. That's a very small metal shop. I'm making a bed frame right now, and it's like,
awesome.
If you can, those of you who can see, there's like not even really enough floor space to put a whole bed frame.
Yeah,
so
I see that.
Like move stuff around and like put it, over the post vise in the middle. So it's kind of you got to always figure it out, but that's part of the deal. It's in,
a lot of materials
it's in kind of this. In this kind of industrial area. I've got a couple larger tools, not anything huge, but there's a tool I have, this tall one that's gray, is a hydraulic press. So that's just like a lever goes up and down and smushes. Smushes
Do you
metal.
bend stuff with that? Is that what that is also?
That one's not so much for bending. Yeah, more for smushing here. Well, again, I'll describe it, but see, if I have a piece of material, this was a piece of 2-inch square material.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And so it has like these lumps on the end and in the middle, and then it's squished down to like 1/4 of an inch flat in the middle. So I can take this, heat it up. Heat is the important thing, and then it goes in the press, so that I can start shaping and forming the metal. That's the whole like essence of blacksmithing. Is you take a chunk of hard thing, you heat it up, you squish it and or hammer it to make it into shapes, and then you stick it.
And now that way, that way you're holding, is it going to become something, or is it this kind of something that you use?
This is actually a mistake piece. I like to keep my mistakes around, and you never know. Sometimes they come back and you can use them, but no, this one I squished too much. I squished too thin in this one spot.
Oh, I see.
So I had to sort of restart with that one. That was a part for, that one was for, I think, a sculpture series that I did last year, if I remember right, on that particular mistake.
And I'm glad you brought up sculptures, because you were just talking about bed frames and some of the more utility stuff that you make.
Yeah.
But, do you find do you have to make time for your art, or just do you get kind of well, I'm sure you do, but I meant, are you inspired and you got to do it, or do you kind of just save it until you get some time and then start working on stuff?
I will never have the free time, so I have to make the time. You know what I mean?
That.
Yeah. So I have been working more towards trying to schedule it in as just one of the jobs. So last year I was kind of on a schedule where I reserved Friday until I taught a class in the evening. So Friday, all day Friday was like for me to make my work kind of stuff.
Okay.
You have to try to set aside time. Because I was working sort of in the mentality of like, I will finish this job and then I will do my work, but it's never finished, So
I understand you completely,
Yeah. So we'll see what I kind of have to wait and see how my school schedule sort of shakes out and what works the best for me. But yeah, I have to make the time for my own work. And the bed frame is actually my own work. So I don't.
Oh, okay.
The what you were talking about, sort of the difference between sculpture and I think you said the word like utilitarian or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah, I usually, a lot of my work isn't what you would generally think of as straight sculpture. Like I think of this bed frame as this in the same realm as a piece of sculpture.
Okay, I love it.
But it's so usually the terms usually are like functional art, or you could say like industrial design or something like that.
Okay.
But for me, making something like a bed frame, and this is sort of something I've learned throughout my MFA program, is I just gravitate towards making something that has some kind of other function, even though I think of like this bed frame as it could be a display piece. It doesn't have to be used. Yeah. Like it's I need sort of the way I think about it is I need like the constraints of making a functional piece, because if you're a painter, you know, if you think about, okay, I could paint anything in the world, right? That's kind of a big realm. So you narrow it down, you think, okay, I'm going to do, you have your style, or I'm going to do like a portrait, or I'm going to do a landscape, or I'm going to do something specific. So for me, having that functionality is my kind of, it's like it's the rules that I need in order to make something. I need sort of those constraints.
Those parameters. I love that. Totally makes sense to me. When I think about being creative, I always remember, I don't know, it was some documentary on the Beatles or something, but they're talking about how they would record on those 8-tracks and the limits of that. And they said something along the lines of, when you have limits, it requires you to get creative. And so that's usually what happens. Yeah. So I always remember that about it. And so in coinciding with what you said, kind of same thing with me. I can just sit in front of a canvas, and if the sun is right and the stars are aligned, things just kind of reveal themselves to me. But that isn't always the case. You know, sometimes I really do need to kind of think, I'm like, okay, so what do I want to do? So when there's something maybe surreal, I'm like, okay, then I know I can find my way through it. You know, just but find sometimes limits or parameters to kind of work around. But I love how you actually said it too, the rules that you work by, or the rules that you. Yeah, that's cool. Right on. That's awesome. And I like how you really spoke about how even the bed frame is something, it's design, you know, it's not so much just, it's just a frame. It's not so simple like that. Yeah, that's awesome.
To me, it's like, and I don't, I don't know. I don't like, it's not like making functional objects is better. It's just what I can do. So I don't want to make like value judgments about what kind of work is better or not. That's not at all my thing. Mine is like, you just got to make I think one of the points about being an artist is you have to make like the thing that you can do, right? The like unique thing that you can do. So it can't be sort of what someone else tells you, or what, I don't know, in the sort of its essence, it has to be something like that comes out of myself. Because this is also for me, it's more obvious, because this is like, it takes a long time. It takes a lot of sweat and effort. So if I don't really care about something, if it's just like I'm making it because I think other people will like it, I guess, I don't have the same kind of motivation. So I have to make something that comes out of like, I need to make this, or this is like what's in here, and I need to make it.
Awesome. I love it. I kind of work the same way. So that makes total sense to me. And, also how I'm also pretty busy. And so I also have to find myself and make time for the projects that I have. Yeah. And it is kind of like a job where it can be very, we're not punching in and out, but I do have to be a little rigid and make that time and see all the way through. Otherwise, what happens too is I'll have different projects, just like you said, because I don't know if it's my short attention span, but I'll work on something. Like, okay, I'm kind of done with this for at least today or tomorrow, and I need to work on something else and come back to it. And then I just kind of, pick up where I left off. I've been doing it for so long that it works for me, but I know that I've talked to other creative folks and they're like, oh no, man, I need to see all that way through. Like I can't tunnel vision. I'm like, well, that's also interesting, but that's not how I work. So it's cool to hear that,
all these differences. Yeah, I think with my work too, a lot of times I talk about it being in the ugly stage. Like I feel like my work almost always goes through this like cycle of like, I'm really excited, and then like, oh, everything is the worst and I'm terrible at everything and I hate this. Now it's coming around. Like it's okay, we're getting back. So learning that was important for me, because it's instead of just like getting discouraged when you're kind of in that middle part, it's just like, okay, this is part of the process. This is part of it. We're just going to keep, if you keep going on it, you'll find a way to like come back to where you like it again.
Absolutely. And that's the experience, right? That we have that confidence that leads us there for sure. Awesome. So
Yeah.
let's talk about your work day then. So when you're
Sure.
in the studio, I know that we talked about at least how I work. Sometimes I'll like forget to eat. You know what I mean? Like I just get caught up in my work. So I gotta be told like, have you eaten? So what do you like? I mean, do you kind of work the same way, or you kind of like, no, I got 2 hours in and I gotta take a break? Like, how do you usually spread your time in the studio?
That's kind of one of my many flaws too, is forgetting to feed myself. It's really funny because it seems so counterintuitive, especially when I'm doing something that's like, again, strenuous. I keep saying like, this isn't just a physical kind of work that I do. Yeah. But the more like, sometimes the more strenuous it is, like the less hungry I am. And when I'm super engaged, I like don't remember that I'm hungry. I don't have the feeling of like needing food. But then sometimes I'll realize like, my brain, it's like something's weird and my brain's not working right. It's like, and then I remember, I haven't eaten. You need to feed yourself. So I try to do, it's not a good habit to have, right?
Yes, like
for anyone listening, please make sure you take care of yourself and feed yourself. So I try I try to make sure that I bring food that like I can eat like while I'm working, to make sure that I force myself to not force myself, but like, just so that I know that it's like I can do it while it doesn't interrupt my flow too much.
Yes.
So I try to stock myself with snacks and foods that I can kind of eat on the go. And then when I have those resources available to me, it makes me more inclined to use them. So
you set yourself up, right?
Yeah, I'm like across the street. There's like Hugo's Acapulco is really good over there. There's like another Mexican restaurant. There's some really good food right around here. Munchies. I don't know if anyone knows that.
Munchies is really good. I like that diner.
Almost never. It's a special occasion if I go over there and get some real food.
Right on. So, since we'll stay on topic or on the studio topic, I've met other artists. Usually I just like painters, they'll welcome you and then you can have people hang out at the studio. But do you like to have people at your studio? I mean, I find your work fascinating, but I also know that's pretty involved and like you said, physical. So people can probably get in the way. So you usually like to have people over, or typically you just like, no? Because I do know some artists are like, you'll never see my studio. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone has to have their own thing. So, part of like kind of going back to the organization I was talking about, like, and this is just my personality, I think, like I'm always into sharing as much as possible.
That's cool.
And blacksmithing is something that there's definitely, it's kind of a niche, unique thing, but there's so much interest in it that's been growing and growing. So I get kids contacting me, like literal kids, like high school kids, or just like other people like, oh my God, I want to apprentice, or like, can I work with you? And I always have people over if they ask me. Always will have people over. It does like, interrupt my flow. Sometimes I can work a little bit, or like I have to stop for a bit. But then also if I like meet with someone and like they have the time or we vibe and I can offer something. I've had apprentices here, people who I've actually been able to pay because I've had jobs that I can pay, I can add in that extra to have an assistant. I really also do try to, if anyone does come in to help me, I do my very best to offer them pay, even if they're learning, because the financial aspect is a huge barrier, of course, to getting into blacksmithing. So I'll have anyone over. It does interrupt my time a bit, but then like with some of my friends that I've had come around more, I can work with them, or they're like working on something with me and we're working together, or they're working on their thing, I'm working on my thing. So sometimes we'll have stuff like that, but I've had so many opportunities and so many people that have been just like the most kind to me. So anytime that I can just do any little thing to like be cool with someone else, I really want to do that.
I really love how supportive you are. It's just awesome. It's I want to say that you don't always see it, but I don't always see it at this level. So it's really, really awesome to hear. I'm also interested a little bit. So you're here in Santa Ana, and you said a lot of high school students approach you. Is there still teaching metal shop in high school now out here?
There's some programs where it's kind of coming back. I can't remember. I had someone who I talked to at the end of last year, and I just had too much to do. I couldn't take them on as like, they had a whole school program where they're like working with someone and making a project. And I've done that before with a high school student. He didn't go to Santa Ana, and this was a couple years ago now. I can't remember I think maybe he was in the Long Beach school district, honestly.
Oh, well,
but yeah, there is definitely some more movement towards having some of those programs, which I think is cool. And then I mentioned that I teach. So I teach at community college, where we have welding and machining and furniture making and engineering and stuff. So I teach it. It's called Orange Coast College.
Would there be more like a trade classes? I would say kind of are basically.
Yeah. Right. So I think right now, at least in my sort of sphere, you'll have more of those classes in community colleges. And I have some students that are high school age that come in through my classes. But yeah, if anyone is interested, community colleges are a great place to look.
Hey, yes, they are.
And they're, pretty cheap too. Some of the classes are affordable and all that.
And plus, I mean, the knowledge that you're providing just as an instructor, as a teacher, that's awesome. So it's awesome to hear that kids or anyone that's interested can apply for class. I mean, for school and get into your class. So that's really good. But so tell me a little bit more about the classes. We'll talk about that since we're on that tip.
Sure.
How long are they? Are they? Do you do like a full day of teaching, or is it you just there like maybe 3 hours and then you get back to you?
Yeah. So, I teach, not full time. I teach part time, but my like regular class that is at OCC, Orange Coast College. It's in the welding department. So I teach a specific kind of welding. That's the GMA and EPCAL or MIG welding and flux core. So we have a whole welding department that, teaches all these different kinds of classes. I've been teaching this one since 2017, I think it is. And I've taught some introductory classes as well, and where we teach, sort of like the basics, and you have to take the intro class, and then you can come into my class and get into some of the other ones. So, I teach kind of one, maybe like a second level class, because you have to take the intro stuff first. And that's all in welding. And that's, like I said, the sort of graded, like regular class in the curriculum. The school where I teach used to have, before COVID, a community education program. And those were just anyone, they're more expensive, but like anyone can pay for these classes and take them. It's not about grades in schools or credit and stuff.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I had a blacksmithing class there and a bronze casting class there.
Really?
Those have all just had to go away because of the pandemic, and maybe they'll come back later on. But the blacksmithing class I did I think it was 6 weeks, and we met every Saturday from like 9 to 2 or something. And we would, basically it's all about working, like doing the thing. I would do demonstrations and talk a little bit, show some stuff, and then we do it. And people would come back, and like, I had people that had took like almost every single class, because it's just, you can use it as sort of studio time, basically.
Yeah.
So
that
was a really great resource that I'm, too bad we don't have it anymore. And hopefully we can find other ways. And I've taught some other classes at other places. And then the welding class, sorry, because you asked about that first. There's a lecture component, and then we call it lab time. That's the time in the shop. So my lectures are usually 1 hour, and then lab time is, let's see if it's like 3 hours and 40 minutes, usually about 4 hours.
Oh, right on.
Time. Once a week. So my classes are once a week.
That's not bad. I mean, for anyone that's interested out there, which I'm not gonna lie to you, that sounds pretty interesting to me. It sounds pretty like doable and kind of like fun and really interesting. You mentioned now COVID, how it played a part in your classes. What is COVID like with you right now? Are the classes just smaller, or are they a little bit more like Zoom too? Or there's not really Zoom with you guys, right?
That's the thing. So when it first started, what was that? 2020.
Going on 2 years. You really.
Do you edit this, or what do you like for? I'm like censoring myself as far as like swear words.
No. You can curse. It's totally fine, and I'll edit more.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, fucking 2020, man. So when that started, it was obviously like just huge disruption. And since we can't only teach on Zoom, like you can't teach a skill when you can't actually you have to have these machines, you have to have the space, right? So in the middle of that semester, everything was just, stopped completely. But then so that was like half of the semester was gone. And then when we started, like everyone's like scrambling to figure out how best to do this and be safe and stuff. So because I work in welding, which is in construction, which is an essential service, we were still allowed to have in-person classes.
Oh, wow.
So I would
cool.
I'm really, really lucky. I didn't lose my job.
Yeah, really.
So got to see my students. I know so many friends who are teachers are just like, I never met these people, and like it was really hard. So the way that we do it now, and is a Zoom lecture. So all of our lectures are online. Everyone does their lectures online, and then you come in person for labs. I think we restricted our class sizes. But my class was almost always small anyway, so that didn't change too much for me. And our space it's like a kind of a big warehouse. There's big doors. It's it has to be well ventilated. Like we have a whole ventilation system because it's welding, and welding fumes are hazardous. So it's actually probably, I mean, again, I'm not a doctor or scientist, but it's probably one of the like more safer places to be, because it already was like a big open space.
All right.
And we try to keep apart, and then everyone's welding booths are like, you have your own section. So we're honestly we're not all gathered together a whole bunch anyway.
Got it. And plus you might have those really cool masks too anyway, right? If you're busy.
Yeah, well, it's all masks indoors, regardless. And you have to wear your hood down. But when you're on your own, in your own little space, you can take your mask off. That's, the hardest thing for me with COVID is with wearing the mask, which I'm happy to do, and it's fine. But when you wear a mask and safety glasses, you have glasses, so you probably encounter this, how it fogs up.
Totally.
If you can't fucking see what you're doing, like that's really hard for welding. And then for me, I'm like trying to talk to all these students, and there we have like our loud, ventilation system going, and I'm like shouting through this mask. Man. And so that's the hardest part. It gets like very exhausting just to like try to make yourself heard.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then at my shop, I don't have anyone regular right now, but I had some apprentices who were coming by regularly, and we would this was before vaccinations or anything, we would wear masks when we're working. So you can work and forge with a mask on. I've been doing that. And that's not too big of a deal. It's like kind of in the way, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Hey, you got to, right? And now, I know things are changing a little bit. I hope things don't change very much for you, because things I mean, I've heard, some schools are closing too again, so we'll see how that goes. But
right now, I think we're, like I said, since we are always an essential service or whatever, we're not gonna we unless something like huge happens, right, where it has to be, everything is kind of canceled, we can usually continue teaching, which we're pretty lucky with that, and that we're lucky that we can do it in a pretty safe way. So that's nice.
Now let's talk a little bit about the end of your day. Do you
do you mind if I light my forge? Well, do you mind if I work while we're talking?
Let's do it. You totally can.
Okay.
We'll wrap it up soon anyway, because I know you gotta get. I'm sure you gotta get to work too. But what type of? How do you like to end your day? Are you kind of, again, bring it back down, kind of relax, or you just work till you're done, shower, and hit the hay?
Yeah. I definitely do work a little bit later. Like I stay at my shop usually till, I try to like shoot for 6 or 6:30, but often it's like around 7. And then, you gotta head home, take your shower. Chris and I, my partner, do like cooking. So we like to make ourselves some good food. Ooh, last night I made pesto.
Hey.
So good. Oh my God. I am so good at making pesto. No way.
I had just my wife got some ciabatta bread, little pesto, tomato, and not basil. What is it? The green stuff.
Yeah, anyway, it is basil. It's basil.
Yeah. There you go. So we're aligning. Things are aligning. That's awesome. So you guys, it's really cool to hear to you guys. Well, actually, you're talking about Chris, right? So does he work, have a studio nearby, or do you guys just kind of like call each other? It's like, it's time to clock out. We'll meet you at home.
Like I said, he does a lot of woodwork. So he's a professor at Fullerton, full-time, in sociology. He's super smart and talented. He's a great teacher. Everyone should take classes from him.
All right.
Yeah. But woodworking, like I said, is his sort of hobby thing, and just general working on the house. So right now, neither of us are teaching because we're on break. So he's been working at home. I think he's making some picture frames today. So he'll work at home, and we have some woodworking tools in the garage. And then actually the shop space here too, I rent this space in Santa Ana. And again, another way that I'm lucky is I rent it. I share the rent with Chris and another friend who also does some blacksmithing.
Okay.
So that's another way that is kind of, I'm super lucky that it's like affordable for me and my costs are really low.
That helps. That definitely helps.
Yeah. So Chris comes out sometimes, works out here and does some stuff. But yeah, usually it's me out here and he's working at home on the, doing some woodwork, and I'll just be like, hey, are you done? What's up? And I don't want to stay too late. You want to have dinner? You're getting hungry.
Yeah.
I text to be like, yeah, time to call it. I'll find a place to end my projects, and you got to shower up, and then we like to make dinner together. And
awesome. What about like any winding down tips, such as like reading or tea or anything like that? Or you just kind of watch a show? What do you guys do?
We were talking about this just last night. I'm sort of a fiendish avid reader. We do like to read. We usually read in bed before we go to sleep. So that helps. Okay. That helps me to kind of to get my mind sort of out of the track of like rehashing everything I did and then everything I got to do the next day. So it distracts my mind. Or at least it's supposed to. Sometimes it doesn't work very well.
No, I know that well.
Yeah, but give me a story so my mind has something to kind of, we think about these characters and stuff instead of all my problems. But we do watch, or like to watch our shows, watch some TV, and that it's not, you don't want to watch too much, but I think the thing that we like about sitting on the couch and relaxing is like we can share. It's something we can share and do together. So it still is like a together thing. We, so we can laugh at the same jokes or like discuss the same things that we're watching and all that.
Yeah,
so
it is part of our, we're so busy. To come together.
Yeah, it's our like hang out stuff, and then just chill out. Yeah, that is definitely the way that we help to shut both of our brains off and just tell ourselves it's time to be done.
Awesome. Now, I usually like to ask at some point something good that happened, something maybe not so good, and maybe like something that you learned. But we talked about a lot of in our talk. We talked not just about the yesterday or anything. How about overall? What maybe your answers could be more about
general.
COVID teaching. Yeah, more general. Like, but what have you? What's a good part of your day?
Yeah.
What's something that you look forward to in your days?
That's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of good things. Something I look forward to. Even if I'm like feeling kind of shitty or whatever, I always like to be here at my shop. So I keep saying like I'm super fortunate to have this space, but this where I am right now, where I'm hanging out, leaning against my post vise here is like this is my safe space, my church, my gym, my everything. This is where I love to be. So I'm just, I love it. And even if it's a kind of a shitty whatever, and then I can always kind of feel a little bit better here. Even if it's a bad day here, it's still a good day.
Yes, I love that. Now let's go to the second part. What have you found challenging? Again, either general or what's the challenge that you had?
Well, I'm going to talk general more. I'm not going to go about COVID. I think generally, I think the biggest challenge is probably the same thing that happens for everyone is like stability. Not like it's all about money, but like like consistency and stability in finances and in everything. So I have my teaching job. I love that. That one's like, it helps to sort of keep my mind at rest because I know that's a consistent source of income.
Right.
You know, Chris has a super stable job, so we feel like really comfortable and we're lucky to have that kind of security.
Yeah.
But I think the hardest thing is like figuring out what I want to do and then how that can be like a, you know, consistent thing that I can do to like support myself throughout my life.
Yeah.
So it's with going back to school, for instance, I decided that I wanted to, you know, move towards the direction of the art world. And I'm here in LA and we're lucky to have this, you know, we have so many opportunities in this space and in Orange County and stuff. So the hardest thing is trying to figure out, I guess, what I want to do and then how to get there. Cause there's no,
there you go. Yeah.
There's no specific, you know, there's no one road. That's sort of one of the points about, I think, this podcast and what you're doing is like, everyone's going to do this differently. Everyone gets places differently. Everyone works differently. Right. So I kind of have more of an idea of where I want to be, but still working on how to get there.
Awesome. I think that kind of, you already answered the last question too, which was, what have you learned? And so I think you kind of played a little bit on that. So that's awesome. Thank you so much, Joy. I really appreciate everything you've shared with us, a lot of knowledge, and your studio for sharing that. But I do have one last question.
Sure.
I don't know. I don't think I saw one, but also, do you have an anvil?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Because I love an anvil, like in like a cartoon. Oh my God, there it is. You gotta have one, right? What are they used?
It's my girl. Yeah, it's my girl.
What are they used for?
They're used for smashing metal. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, I mean, that's really what it is. It's a surface against which to shape metal. So really the basics is, this is my forge over there, this kind of thing. So you heat the metal up. It gets red, orange hot, about 2000 degrees. When it's hot, it's malleable. And then you come over to the anvil, you have a flat surface here. I can hit it and squish it into various shapes that way. You've got a rounded surface here. This is the pointy part of the anvil. Everyone, you know, is familiar, like what Wile E. Coyote drops on the Roadrunner.
Yes. I want to describe it.
You've got the pointy part.
Awesome.
Yeah. This is called the horn or the bick. So you can make, you make your round shapes here. You can bend the metal around it here. The main body, like I said, is just a big, flat, sturdy surface that is, super stable. And then you have this at the end, it kind of tapers out and gets flat. If everyone, look up a picture of an anvil if you don't have one in front of you right now. This is the table.
Or look at Mary Melody's episode. Yeah.
Yeah. It has holes. This is called the Hardy hole. It's a square hole kind of towards the back end of it. And this you fit different tools in.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So you have, I can have, a whole set of different tools that just have that shape. So they sit inside the Hardy hole. And it's basically so the anvil holds this tool for me.
Right. Keeps it in place.
Yeah. And there's another round hole here. This is called a London pattern anvil. It's the particular style and like the design, because you'll see different anvils do have different shapes and kinds.
Different uses,
and this
right?
different uses. I mean, there's like horseshoers anvils, cobblers anvils, but also there's just like many, I don't want to be like Western centric. So this isn't the only anvil, right? This is like a European style, which obviously is super common in the US, but there's all kinds of anvils. There's a lot of blacksmiths that I've seen that work like a lot, like super differently than we work, like on the ground with just like a big square chunk of metal that is the main anvil. So there's lots of different like types and sizes and shapes of anvil. This one that we have here is just the London pattern, super common and normal, but there's lots of other ones out there for different uses.
That's very cool. I didn't catch it this whole time, but I'm like, I gotta ask. I gotta ask them. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's just really, really cool. And you guys, again, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your time with us, your knowledge, and I wish you well. I hope everything works out well, and congratulations on soon. You'll be done with your MFA, you said, right? Last semester? Yeah, so good for you. I was checking back with you to make sure you're all right. And see how you're doing.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks again. And I'll check it back with you and let you know when this drops.
Great. Thanks, Roger. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Great to chat with you. I enjoyed it.
Likewise.
See ya.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And there you have it. Hope you enjoyed that episode of How Do You Do with RogerEyesR. Don't forget to follow the podcast at How Do You Do Podcast _ RogerEyesR on Instagram, and also me on all major platforms, RogerEyesR, all across the board, RogerEyesR.com, blah 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 blah, and JoyFire on Instagram too. Don't forget to come back here to this main place mall in Santa Ana, where you can find a lot of artwork. This piece right here, Be the Eye in Kind. That's on me, baby. But there's a lot of other awesome art around here. You guys have a lot of talent in Santa Ana and everywhere else. I can't wait to talk to everyone out there. And thanks again for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for next time. Hey, look at that.